guys, this is All My Favorite Opera Reviews. Don't worry, nothing bad just happened. That was just the opening chord of Richard Strauss's opera Elektra, about a demented girl obsessed with revenge killings. Elektra is sung in German, being approximately 1 hour 40 minutes long. Here is a brief history of the opera. Richard Strauss worked with Hugo von Hofmannsthal, his librettist, to create this opera. His intention to create a stunningly modernistic opera while keeping tonal music. The result is that the music is tonal, but barely. It premiered in Dresden in 1909. The premiere cast included Annie Krull as Elektra, Margareta Siems as her sister, Chrysothemis, Ernestine Schumann-Heinck as their haunted mother, Clytemnestra, Johannes Sembach as Agist, her lover with whom she cheated on her former husband, and Karl Pennon as Elektra's brother, Orest. The reviews of the opening night in Dresden were generally favorable. Here is the opera in a nutshell. Clytemnestra and Agamemnon were husband and wife. When Agamemnon returned triumphant from the Trojan War, Clytemnestra and her new lover, Agist, murdered him. The daughter of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra, Elektra, demented by longing for revenge, discovers the return of her brother to their palace after a few unsuccessful attempts to get her sister to help her murder their mother and her lover. She then uses him to kill both Clytemnestra and Agist and dances in joy, only to drop dead at the climax of the dance. That was the opera in a nutshell, but here are the main roles and their biggest respective moments. The largest role is of course the title role, Elektra. Her first big aria is Allein, Vegan's Allein, when she summons the spirit of her father, Agamemnon. A little while later, she has a scene with Clytemnestra. The latter has been stricken with nightmares, and Elektra hints that someone must die to appease the gods, and to stop her nightmares. That moment is when das rechte Blutopfer unter Beile fällt. Gee, I thought German would be easier to pronounce than French. I actually ended up, the first time I listened to Elektra, learning quite a bit of German from it, like Beil. Beil means axe. Eventually, Elektra reveals that it is Clytemnestra who must die, in a scene boiling with emotion and exploding dramatic intensity. Was bluten muss. Wie stark du bist is a scene when Elektra tries to bribe her sister to help her kill their parents. Chrysothemis refuses, and Elektra curses her. Then, her next scene is the recognition scene. Before that scene, a stranger walked up to her and started talking to her. After initial suspicion, Elektra recognizes that it is, in fact, Orest who has come. In the final moments of the opera, Elektra wants to lead the celebratory dance, but cannot, and she explains that to Chrysothemis in Ob ich nicht höre. Eventually, she dances in the scene called Schweig und Tanze, at the climax of which she drops dead. Famous Elektras include Annie Krull, Ingeborg, Birgit Nilsson, and Hildegard Behrens. As you can probably tell, Chrysothemis doesn't have as many spotlight moments as Elektra. Her only solo scene is Ich kann nicht sitzen und ins Dunkel starren, where she talks about how she wants to leave the house. She also talks about how women are treated unfairly. In Orest ist tot, she runs to Elektra, screaming that her brother is dead. As we later find out, that is not true. Famous Chrysothemises include Margareta Siems, Leonie Rysanek, Elsa Bandenheber, and Lise Davidson. Clytemnestra's one main scene is Ich habe keine guten Nächte, where she talks about how she's constantly having nightmares before getting mocked by Elektra. In response to that, Clytemnestra laughs at her hysterically. Famous Clytemnestras include Ernestine Schumann-Heinck, Regina Resnick, and Waltraud Meyer. I'm sorry if I'm overly brief here, but Orest's main moment is the recognition scene, where Elektra recognizes him to be her brother. Famous Orests include Tom Krause, Karl Pennon, and Eric Owens. This is probably the only opera in which I wouldn't listen to anything beforehand and just sit down and listen to it. It's partly because it is barely tonal, almost atonal, and it's partly because the music shows you to the chord the most if you've never heard any of it before. This is not a good starter opera, however. It's more, acquired taste. I wouldn't show it to somebody who's never seen an opera before. I would also listen to a bit of Wagner before I listen to this opera, because Wagner is basically the better version of what Strauss is trying to achieve here. And if you've gotten used to that, then you should have no trouble watching this. But if you haven't, then this will not be an enjoyable experience for you. So, let's move on to the recording I would recommend as a starter. The 1967 Decca studio recording, conducted by Georg Scholti, with the Vienna Philharmonic and Vienna State Opera Chorus. Elektra is Birgit Nilsson, Chrysothemis is Marie Collier, Clytemnestra is Regina Resnick, Oreste is Tom Kraus, and August is Gerard Stolze. Nilsson is powerful and creepy as Elektra. Marie Collier is a very innocent Chrysothemis. Regina Resnick brings out her dark side in Clytemnestra. Tom Kraus is a heroic Oreste, and Stolze is an unusual voice for August, though he is adequate. Scholti conducts with fire and intensity, and the Vienna Philharmonic helps him to create the most powerful orchestral account of the opera. Overall, this is the best recording of Elektra. Definitely worth your money. To sum up, Elektra is an opera which modern composers have been extremely unsuccessfully trying to recreate. It combines modernism with traditional singing. Though Wagner is definitely superior in my opinion, Elektra is an opera which is unlike any other. It's a unique and worthwhile experience to try it. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy Easter to everyone. Make sure you do the things you love and spend time with friends and family. May you have a holy day.